Welcome to the Babbling Pastor Podcast, the best podcast on the entire internet. You are here to have your brains rattled, your insides pulverized. I don't know. You're here to hear. It became. I'm sorry. It started as like this hype moment, and then it quickly became super violent, and I don't know why. It's so
Yeah, bro, you went straight to pulverized there. That's wow.
Yeah. I also think this is one of the reasons I couldn't be like an open mic poet person, because I don't know what would happen. I know, not poetry and not rhyme, but odd things. It's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yep. Giraffes eating pickles and weird stuff. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be.
Well, and then there'd be somebody in the audience to be like, bro, spoke to me. And I don't even know what I said, but that would be exactly what would happen. I guarantee it. Be the
Uh,
high guy in the back with yeah, he'd be on
no
my
matter
team.
how bad it was, Todd White saying, "Jesus loves you, bro."
Hey, I notice your leg is short. Come here. Um, you
Walking
know
a little
something?
crooked. You
What I
up?
just realized is that could be a Todd White line or also a pickup line. I don't know either. And that's how I met your mother, kids. No. So today
Hey,
we
look,
have
your leg is short.
I I
That'll
found her
bring him running.
I found her attractive. She had a little bit of a limp to her. I knew she couldn't get away.
Your wife doesn't watch these, right?
No, she doesn't.
Okay,
there's
good.
no,
Good.
there's you know what's funny though is she doesn't watch them, but she will read the comments occasionally for some reason. I don't know why, but like there was one I was telling her. So in the previous episode, if you guys were watching, I mentioned somebody commented that we had like it was the most unhinged intro ever, and I told her about it, and she goes, "Yeah, there was one where they said I don't even know what it was, but she told me a comment she had read on a video, and I was like." Did you watch it? And no, I just read the comment. I was like, okay, it's interesting. That was a very interesting
I'm
use of
I'm the
time.
opposite. Like when I watch a YouTube video, I try desperately not to ever read the comments. It's like,
Yeah, I like how, and I'm sure I don't know like if it's on the phone or just online or whatever, but I like how YouTube does like if you're watching a video, it'll bring a comment relevant to that moment of the video to the top, and then that is they get me to read the comments that way because a lot of them are like the news ticker. It's like it's stupid, doesn't matter, and then there's one that you're like, I wonder how that ends, and so you click it because it's so weird. It's such a weird beginning of a statement. Um. Anyway, welcome back to the Bad Boy Buster Podcast. I'm Michael, one of the hosts, and this is
Rob.
another one. So, welcome. If
Yeah.
you've made it 3 minutes and 20 seconds into this video, you have made it longer than most people. So, um, you know, never mind. I'm not even gonna go off on another rabbit trail. Today we have a video we're gonna react to. I don't know what this is, other than it is Charlie Kirk. Do you want to set this up at all, or do we just want to watch it and go for it?
I think he's talking about something. It'll kind of be a little bit, related to the last episode
Oh, okay.
in that really what is in view, I think, is he ends up um affirming and kind of pushing traditional marriage and family stuff.
How dare
And
he?
so I think, yeah, I know. What a jerk, right? Yeah. Oof. But anyway,
Okay.
I think it's interesting, and we can chitter chat about I think a few things in it really, but
Okay.
let's do it.
Let's do this. Here we go. If I can get my cursor up there.
Hi, Charlie. I'm Addie, and I'm 14. I'm a freshman in high school, and I was wondering, as someone who has like a different opinion on college, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because I'm interested in political journalism, and what would your advice be?
Yes, so let me also speak to some of the young ladies here in high school where your top, who's here where your top priority is get married and have kids? Raise your hand. Okay. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself. Like, don't like, I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here. And that's okay, actually. And that's a really good reason to go to college, actually, especially an SEC school. Like, you will find a husband if you have the intent to find a husband at Ole Miss. Like, it's just going to happen, okay? Or wherever. Yeah, there you go, see? Or at University of Alabama. But there you go. But I always laugh because, and by the way, we should bring back the celebration of the MRS degree, which is, no, serious. I mean, if you think about it, like I say college is a scam, but if you're going to find your life partner, like that's actually a really good reason to go to college. You have a bunch of people that are single, they're at the prime of their, let's just say attractiveness. The dating pool is as robust as you'll ever find, and they all live together over a 4-year period. Like you don't get much better than that, okay? It doesn't get better after college there. And so yeah, you could go learn some stuff. That's fine, I guess, or whatever. Just don't listen to your professors. But that actually was the reason why a lot of women went to college in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and it worked for a lot. Marriage rates have plummeted since that. So
Okay. I can imagine why the internet may have exploded over that. So let's talk about it. Let's see what happens. Did the internet explode over that? I've missed that. I missed this clip somehow.
Yeah. So I don't know how much explosion there was.
Okay. Well, it's Charlie Kirk,
I
so I
just
wasn't
ran
sure.
across it. Yeah, I just ran across it in my feed, the video somebody shared, and that's the reason that uh, uh, I use the word interesting, and that we should talk about it, instead of it's awesome, right?
So
Because I haven't really thought through it yet. I
yeah.
totally agree with some of the things that he's saying, but
One thing I do not think I have at least one disagreement with Charlie Kirk. I was not at the peak of my attractiveness in college. I'm just telling you right now. If we were to go back and show some pictures, that was not the time. So, the fact that I got married, the fact that my wife ever dated me, miracle. So, anyway, just want
yeah,
to combat that point a bit. Not at the peak of attractiveness. So, anyway,
I don't
not that I'm at
know.
the peak now, if there ever was a peak,
Just,
but anyway.
speaking for myself, I'm not completely sure that there's a peak in a flat field. So, um, it is what it is. But
Anyway, sorry,
uh,
go ahead. Yeah.
no, I think I love the concept of what he's talking about, because frankly, all he's talking about is actually family is pretty important, right? So, like there was an intentional misdirect. Um, like uh, she asked about college and degree program and advice for that, professional advice, right? Or advice for professional things. And he immediately directed it toward actually the most fulfilling profession that you could possibly be in is wifery and motherhood. Like that, like the other stuff is great, right? I don't think you could make a biblical argument that the other stuff isn't okay and good, because I mean, you see the woman as an example in Proverbs is working and doing things for her household, and so I don't necessarily think that. However, that what he's talking about has been completely overlooked and even talked about as something that is bad, in our society, and even in our churches. It's leaked in, because one of the things that you will hear in your church, particularly the more populated of an area you live in, I think, is you'll hear women say something like, "Oh, what do you do?" "Well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom." And well, just should not be in that sentence, right? In fact, if you're a wife and a mother, and a wife and or a mother, right? Like if you don't have children or whatever, and you do that and you're an attorney, you should say, well, I'm a wife and a mother, or I'm just an attorney, right? It should be the opposite, right? Because the most important culture shaping, legacy leaving job that any woman could ever possibly have, purpose wise, is wife and mother. That's it. That's the most important. If you don't fulfill that, right? That is if you're a wife and a mother, okay. But if that's somehow like holding you back or something, and you look at it like that, well, you're really flip flopped on what is really important, and what, like, you could do the most important secular job or whatever that you think you could possibly do, and you will not have the same kind of impact as if you uh, raise and love your children and support your husband, and then do stuff that you need to do
Yeah.
apart from that, for sure. But
No, I think so. What's really interesting is, like you said this connected to the last episode, which I'd 100% agree with, because one of the things, so a couple things. One, I don't know the actual statistics, so I'm gonna make one up, but a large majority of the people that go to college, when they get out of college, is not what their job actually is. Like, unless you have an uber specialized, and even in those incredibly specialized, it's usually not that thing. It's maybe adjacent, maybe not connected at all. And so this idea of, "Oh, I'm gonna go to college and focus, focus, focus on this one thing and ignore everything else," may get you a very specialized job in a field that you really want to work in. But what you will find, and here's the curse of age and wisdom, is that what you will find is ultimately that is only going to bring you a certain amount of purpose. And you will find that that purpose isn't incredibly fulfilling. Like, there will be fulfillments in that career, but they will never it's not going to be like the ultimate fulfillment, right? What you will find, and this is where I think, to sort of prove his point, is that what you will find is that even people that are very successful in their career, and I know a handful of them, they will at least have some group of friends in which they try to find connection and purpose with, because there's still that drive. There is this drive that there's something more than just this career of mine, even when it is in a field like medicine or research or things like that. There's still this need to have connection with people. And so this idea of, like, as you said, like, the ultimate goal you can shoot for is as mother, or wife. In the same regard, like, what I found as time has passed, like, I could be the best whatever, right? I've had a lot of careers. I could be the best manager, I could be the best salesman, I could be the best pastor, I could be the best whatever. It doesn't matter. But ultimately, like, at the end of the day, my goal is I want to be the best husband and dad. Like, that's the goal. Like, at the end of the day, all of these people may come to my funeral, may not come to my funeral. They're definitely going to replace me at all of these places that I've been or am. But at the end of the day, the people that are hopefully definitely going to show up are the people that are directly connected to me. Those that have that I have poured into, that I love deeply. And so at the end of the day, that is sort of the highest goal. And so he's not wrong in the sense that, like, going to college, one of the sort of adjacent goals is to sort of like find, like, because what you will find, here's his point with the plummeting marriage rates. What you will find is people that don't put themselves in situations such as college have a really hard time finding somebody. I don't have, man, I know it's saved in my bookmarks like super, super deep on Twitter, but it was a graph that shows over the decades where people find their partners. And so used to, it was places like college, church, work, like those were the top ones, or like family connections. They would find people like their marriage partners via those connections, those communal connections. But now it's more and more, it's like online, or like, yeah, it's swipe right or whatever. And those, what you find is it's not those aren't deep, meaningful connections, because they're not meant to be deep, meaningful connections. They're not designed that way. And so I think he has, though I can see where somebody would not like how he puts it, But he's right. Like, the idea is that you are going to find a spouse in a situation that you would not probably normally be. So, like college, you're put in front of a bunch of people you don't know, that you have to get to know, and you're going to find similar interests and similar goals and similar directions. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, most of these people that are going to meet in college and get married probably are taking similar classes, or are, in the same building on campus often, and see each other and go, "Oh, you look kind of hot," and kind of hit it off that way. And so one of the things that, um, I think the overreaction that most, I'll say, progressives have, is that's like, how dare you tell that girl that she should
That
go to
she should
college
go
to
to
find a
college,
husband? Because
because
oh, I have an echo
oh,
now. I hear an echo on my end from you. I don't know why.
mm,
But anyway, I don't know if it's coming through or not. But
but,
I think one of the things he's telling them is like, "Oh, how dare you tell her that?" When at the end of the day, if he were to tell her, just follow that, put your head down and just like follow that career path until you hit it, and then plan for marriage, that would actually be more damaging in the long run, because by the time you get, you know, you've put your head down, you've put in all the time, you've got the job, you are successful, pretty much what she's going to find then, or even what, I mean, to flip the script, even what guys are going to find then, is all the people that would be like good partners for you, they're all taken because they've already focused on the thing they should focus on. And now you're left with maybe a successful career, or maybe not. Maybe you're just left by yourself. And now you're lonely. You have no purpose. You have no aim in life. You've got a really nice degree and maybe some money. And you're going to find, again, wisdom comes way later than you need it in hindsight. But you're going to find that you didn't shoot your shot when you should have shot it. And now you wonder, like, well, why did life go? Well, because you took bad advice. I'm not saying that Kirk gives the best advice all the time. I don't know a lot about him. But in this regard, I think if you sort of parse through the language a little bit, what you're going to find is he actually is giving pretty good advice, which is that, yeah, go get an education, I guess, but ultimately that's not like the highest aim. That's not the highest goal. You should know that. That's great for you. But statistically, whatever degree you get, you're not going to use anyway. And so find somebody that you can spend your life with, that you can raise a family with, that you can be, again, back to the last episode, that you can leave a legacy with. So
Yeah, I think the only thing that he the only thing that I think is difficult about what he said is, um, and you heard it in the young lady's question, when she said something like, and I know how you feel about college, or whatever, um, and you could hear it somewhat in his answer, like when he essentially talked about, like, this is the only reason to go. It's a colossal waste of time, is essentially how he was framing it, right? And I don't completely disagree with that. I think I so one of my sons is behind me over here making coffee, I think, or something, um, and he's getting up and getting ready to go to work, I assume, and it's 6:30 here in the morning on Friday, uh, and I think that probably the job that he has, he'll grow into further and just stay there. And I think, like, if where I'm going with that is, I think that um, college, and, like, I wouldn't say to someone, go to college to do that. And the only reason, I guess not the only reason, but one of the reasons would be, yeah, you're probably spending a lot of money for something that is 80% of the time completely useless. You know, like, if you get a sociology degree, like, are you going to teach sociology or just know things about society or something like? And not only that, but if you get a sociology degree from a secular school, it's probably 80% garbage anyway. Like like that there's so much that's not good about that idea. I think one of the things that we've tried to encourage the boys with is if you're going to go to college, great, but it probably ought to be because you want to get into a field that you cannot get into otherwise, right? Like if you're going to be a medical doctor, not a lot of options for online school,
Yeah, you
right?
can't practice that in the shed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Um, or an architect or whatever. Like there are things that, but if you're going to get into the trades or something, there are trade schools that's getting popular all over again, which is wonderful because like we can't run out of plumbers. You know what I mean? Like, um, and if you're just going to jump, like I'm all for meet them at church and not at some secular college where you're probably just going to have lots of sex and maybe treat uh, maybe create a mother that's not also a wife, which is not good either way. So I wouldn't say go to an SEC school, and I know he's probably halfway in jest because that's where he was in that neck of the woods, but I wouldn't go to a secular college if you absolutely have to, and find the least gender affirming one that you can possibly find um, to get the degree that you need. Um, but other than that, I think the whole premise of the actual concept he's talking about with being a wife and a mother, I don't think it gets um, better than that. In fact, look at the hands that were raising when he asked that question in the beginning. There were quite a few hands that you could see going up. Now, Charlie Kirk being there means that was a conservative crowd, right? Um, but I think that what we talked about for men in the last episode, that's also true of women. There's a wave of women that kind of see, well, this feminism stuff is kind of stupid. Like I could be a CEO and incredibly unhappy because actually I'm not. I'm choosing to not fulfill the very purpose that I was created to fill. That women have the ability by the grace of God and by his providence to breed and have another human grow inside of them. That's a superpower, right? Like that's insane, and God did that on purpose, and that is part of your purpose to be a wife, a helper to a support, and a mother if God so chooses to bless you like that. Um, and no career is going to fulfill you the same way that will, with the one caveat that even that will not fulfill you if you view that as your identity and purpose, because your identity ought to be in Christ. He's the only thing, only one that will fulfill you completely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my last comments on all this are it's pretty simple, which is like there are I remember, I mean this was probably golly, this is maybe 15 years ago or something. It was a while back. Well, maybe not 15 years ago. I don't know. I've lost track of time. But the point is that there was one point where there was a kid from youth group that he just graduated. When he had texted me, he's like, I'm scared to death to know like what if I take this path? Is it honoring God? Or what if I take this path and it's like he says they both seem like good paths to take, and I don't know which way to go, and da 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 da. And he was lost in, I think, in the sort of struggle that a lot of people, I mean, really what comes, like at the core of this question too, like, what am I supposed to do next? Like, what is, like, everybody's searching for, like, what, should I pursue college? Should I pursue this? At the end of the day, I think as and again, this comes down to you understanding that you're a Christian and there's a certain, you know, purpose attached to that, that you, like, wherever you go, the goal is to glorify God and ultimately, fulfill whatever mission he has for you, whatever that purpose is. And you're not going to know. Here's the crazy thing, and this is where the wisdom comes in far too late too. You don't know what that is. You just have to take it in the moment. And so if you do go to college, great. But as you're there, make sure you're honoring God and how you're doing that, right? And how you're studying and how you're interacting with the content. I mean, he says ignore your professors. Like there is some wisdom in that advice, but there's also
Especially
some.
year one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I think one of the things, and this is, I mean, I hope I did. I don't know. I hope I did a good job at this. But one of the things that I can look back and that I tried and I'm trying currently still to interject into my kids is to be like, look, you've got to have a balance. But like, there are some really good things people are going to tell you. And it's great to adapt and adopt those. And then there's going to be some trash stuff that people tell you. And it's really great to know when to ignore that. And so, I think as somebody that's like in her case, I think she said she was 14 or 15. Um,
Mhm.
that one, it's awesome that at that young of an age you're asking, like you're thinking that way. I wasn't thinking that way. I was like, yo, what's the next video game? So like I'm glad that someone's more intelligent, which
I
is
was looking
great.
around in hopes of finding fudge rounds or something in the
Exactly. So I'm glad that
yeah,
somebody is thinking ahead there. But
yeah.
I think one of the things I've tried to interject into my kids and other people that, that care to listen is just like just be cautious and use discernment whenever like whatever situation you find yourself in, because at that point that's going to save you a lot of heartache later. Like if you are looking for a spouse, like, okay, is this somebody, like, do they have characteristics that I would want? This is, I think, where it comes down to, I'm going to try not to ramble because these are my ending thoughts here. But I mean, this is where I think it does come into play. Like one of me and my wife's goals is like, how do we model relationship in front of our kids in such a way that like when they're looking for somebody, they can go like, that's what I want. Like that's similar to what I want. And so like the goal would be like when you are searching for a spouse, you're like, is that like, I don't know. There's some red flags there. Or there's some like, hey, there's some things there that are, appealing that I think are, good things that I would want. And so I think just learning to think ahead, like this young lady is, to learning to sit like not just a year or two down the road, but like, all right, and again, don't bury yourself in anxiety with that, but just acknowledge the reality that like life has consequences. So like I
Mhm.
should probably make some good decisions and don't be overwhelmed by that. So I think the advice he gave her wasn't bad. I can see where people would think like get all worked up about it, but essentially he's just saying like, hey, you're going to get married one day. Probably. It's very likely that you are. And so, yeah, get a degree if you want one. Uh, but ultimately you're going to get married and look for somebody that's not going to divorce you or you're not going to get divorced from and that you can build a family with, and just like look a little bit farther down the road. I think that's the best advice anybody can have. Do people have the wisdom to take that advice? Well, I don't know. Live and you learn, I guess. But that it is good advice, and it's good that she's at least asking the questions of like, all right, what is this like? Should I go? What does it look like? And again, his answer I think is sort of in jest, like, hey, if you do go, great, don't listen to your professors, but like learn something. I think what he's really doing is drilling down, like you already said, to the main question. Like, the question is, should I go? And he's like, I don't know. I mean, if you want to, but that's not gonna that's not the foundation of life.
Mhm.
And I think when you realize that, I don't know, priorities just line up a little bit better when you realize that. So that's my last thought.
Yeah, so one of several incredibly controversial in our era scriptures from Paul is First Timothy 5:14 when he's talking about widows and how to care for widows as the church. Um, and he primarily makes the point that older widows are first to be taken care of by their family because that's familial responsibility. And if there's a situation in which that cannot happen, or an older widow just doesn't have any family, then the church does what the family would do otherwise. But younger widows, Paul says in 1 Timothy 5:14, therefore, I want younger widows to get married, bear children, manage their households, and give the enemy no occasion for reproach. Now, without getting into exegesis of that text, one of the things that you can incredibly clearly hear is that um, marriage, bearing children, the woman being the one who manages the household, the everyday things within the home that need to get done, and that need to get done even outside of the home for the home. That's how it ought to be. That's perfect picture, right? And I'm not necessarily saying, barefoot and pregnant, right? Like that's not the line, uh, uh, but but if you're out um, working outside the home doing something, and you're uh, and you're doing it just so you'll be fulfilled with a career, and your kids are in daycare, you're wrong. Like you're missing the very purpose that God has given you to them. Think about it that way. He's given you as a gift to them, right? You ought to be the best gift you can be, and not hand them over to others to train them and to teach them how to be people, how to be godly men and women. And so it's one thing if so, like for instance, we're at a point in raising our boys that if Donna wanted to go get a full-time job, she could, right? And it would be fine. Um, because we have older boys, older teenagers. They're both turning into men, and responsible, and learning godliness and all of those things. And so we're kind of at a point where they actually need her a little bit less, and they need me to example a little bit more. Um, so, but there's still household things that if my wife doesn't do them, and just kind of figures, well, my job here is done, then they're just stuff that doesn't get done, right? Um, and so, like all that to say, even biblically, right? What Paul is assuming, I got off track there, but what Paul is assuming in that text is this is the norm. This is the normal thing. This is how you guard against being a gossip and a busybody and getting into trouble with just other sinful things. And this is how you guard against it. You do what you were meant to do, right? That's what he's saying. I mean, in some respect.
Got it. All right. Well, guys, hopefully you found this episode helpful. If not, I'm sure you have left a comment below. If you do like this episode, go ahead and hit that like button. If you don't like it, double tap the dislike button. If you want to share it with somebody, go ahead and do that. If you're not subscribed, I don't even know what to tell you anymore. Get out of here. We'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.
Later.
Battling past